Morena tātou, and welcome to the first governing body meeting of this next 3-year term. I hope everyone's recovered from the nasty flu that's been going around. We've got maiden speeches up today, followed by some council business. And so we have a thing today where you have to go online to vote because we've got very modern apparently. I have no idea how you're doing that, but and I noticed that the Deputy Mayor has yet to join online to vote. So there you go, it'll keep you going for a bit. Okay, and the apologies have been received for absence, none, but we have one. We've got a lateness from Sayers and Patterson Hamlin. Early departure from everybody. No, we won't. We'll try and finish on time. Well, let's hope we can accommodate that, Alf.
Can you move that, please?
Beg your pardon? No. So I will move the apologies and they'll be seconded by Alf. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, carried very much. We'll carry on to that. Attendance by electronic link.
We have none.
We've got none. And so we don't have to do anything about that. The meeting's being live webcast. We've got electronic meeting attendance protocols in place. I'm not asked to observe them, but nobody's out there anyhow, so that's okay. There are no declarations of interest. No items not on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Declarations of interest. Sorry,
yeah. I need to declare. I need to declare a conflict in relation to the item, the appointments for the district licensing committees. Given that I'm the trustee of the Woody Licensing Trust, I'm assuming Councillor Winiata will have the same situation. So I won't be participating in those votes.
Thank you for letting us know that.
And Councillor Henderson?
Councillor Henderson.
I think Councillor Winiata.
That's so important on 5.5 that they've got a conflict with. Righto, thank you for that. Well, I'm not putting my name forward for that. Don't worry, so I suppose I possibly have. I own a pub. Thank you for that. Right, well, all those non-drinkers will vote and decide instead. Okay, more importantly, we have the opportunity for maiden speeches. And today we look forward to receiving the opening speeches from Councillors Burns, Gillen, Patterson, Hamlin, Short and Winiata. And so I'll welcome to the throne Councillor Burns. Would you like to come up and we've got a spot. I believe these are 10 minutes long.
Yes.
So thank you very much. The floor is yours, Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Good morning, Your Worship, Mayor Brown, Deputy Mayor Simpson, fellow councillors, supporting staff and all the guests in the room. I'm truly honoured to be here today. Apart from my amazing husband Brendan and my beautiful daughters Lucy and Charlie and my mum at home Pip, I have 12,038 people of East Auckland to thank for this wonderful opportunity. For trusting and believing that I will make a difference and be the voice that they deserve and what they need. My community will always be my anchor and my point when thinking and deliberating on local and regional decisions. It's never ever been about what I think, it's been about what's best for my community. Although I'm not a seasoned politician, I come from a family with strong thread of public service and leadership, business owners, lawyers and politicians. My great-great-grandfather, James McAndrew, whose statue stands proudly outside the Dunedin Museum, was a very successful businessman and served as a Member of Parliament from 1853 to 1887 and was sadly killed in a horse cart accident. And as the last superintendent of Otago Province, one article described him as a man whose energy and enthusiasm and vision livened up the little village of Dunedin. That resonates deeply for me because that's how I feel about my own village, Howick. I'm a business owner, I'm a wife, I'm a mum, I'm a sports coach, I'm a business mentor, I'm a community connector, and I've spent my life at 47 so far giving back. Volunteering, fundraising, sitting on PTAs, industry boards, supporting sports clubs, mentoring the youth, and advocating tirelessly for our local business owners. I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get the hard work done, and my mission is always to make things happen. My journey started from the ground up, no university, no handouts. I had to work hard and stay determined and hold on to core values and beliefs. I care deeply about my community and its people, and through that I've built strong relationships and achieved real results along the way with the support and friendship of people like Adele White, who I was elected with 6 years ago on the Howick Local Board, where all this journey began. Mental note, never ask someone what their 5-year plan is. To me, leadership isn't about titles, it's about service. It's about being accountable, visible, and someone that the community knows will show up. It's about bringing common sense to the table and making sure that our future generations thank us for that. My vision is simple for Auckland City, a city people not only want to live in, but that they love and feel incredibly proud of. Too often I hear people now say, I don't want to live here anymore, and that breaks my heart. We need a city where local decisions are made locally. We need a city that values our environment, our waterways, our beaches, our reserves, safety, tourism, and the community connection. A city that celebrates the unique character and diversity of every suburb, from Howick to Henderson, Franklin to the shore. We know blanket approaches and initiatives such as PC 120 will never work for our incredibly different communities and beautiful suburbs. For some it suits, and for some it will decimate not only the places that people love to and long to live, but even put more pressure on our ageing infrastructure and our environment. We must simplify how we communicate and how our people and how Aucklanders feel heard, understood and engaged, not frustrated and constantly excluded. We need to change the mantra of there is no point, nobody is listening. This role carries a huge responsibility. It is not about managing budgets. It's not just about managing budgets and debating policies and bylaws. It's about rebuilding the Aucklanders' trust with us. Without genuine connection and transparency, we cannot truly serve the people. We must stop and listen and respond with care, not knee-jerk reactions and constant excuses about lack of funding. I've been raised to believe you have to spend money to make money. If we want meaningful engagement for turnouts of elections and have your say events, we can't be investing 17 cents per person and expect real democracy. When only 15 to 28% of people in Auckland are turning out, democracy is broken. I'm a results-driven person who believes in communication, collaboration and execution. I look forward to building strong and functional relationships, not just with my own board, but with all the ward boards, and with our local MPs, Simeon Brown, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Dr. Parmjit Palmer. We know that strong communities build strong cities. When a team is rowing in the same direction, we don't just get there, we get there together stronger. Some decisions ahead will be difficult, but we must always think long-term about what we're leaving behind for the future generations, and we cannot hand over a broken and dysfunctional city. When asked recently to catch up with Phil Wilson, I was told to take my top 3 priorities. My list quickly turned from 3 to about 400, and some for my community and many for the wider Auckland regions. And these are the key areas that I would like to focus on this term. Rates, reviewing the structure and framework of rates, specifically the AUGC. It's one of the biggest issues raised to all of us during the local election, and there are levers available to us, and I'd like to use them and bring it to the table to discuss. Community facilities for Flatbush and Ormiston. East Auckland has 180,000 residents. Flatbush and Ormiston is the fastest growing community and has waited over 20 years for a proper facility. It's actually been so long that the long-term plan was actually called the Long-Term Council Community Plan, LTCCP. It's time to deliver for those 45,000 people that have nothing, bring them together And the bigger issue here is the pressure that it's putting on the additional facilities in the Howick ward. Sports clubs, supporting our large sports clubs such as the HPNC, many of which run on smell of an oily rag, and we need to strengthen partnerships, grants, and create safe, accessible, high-quality spaces with proper lighting, parking, and the facilities for these places to host national and international events. An active and healthy community is a happy one. Car parks. We need bold thinking and collaboration to create better parking solutions that can also generate passive income for council. Smart infrastructure like this will help both local tourism and the wider city flow with less cars on the road. Right now, we have an amazing transport hub at Half Moon Bay, which is the Bucklands Beach Yacht Club, that no one can park at and get to reliably. Beaches, streams and coastlines. Protecting and monitoring properly these natural assets to ensure we don't lose them to poor infrastructure or intensification bad decisions. Future generations should be able to safely swim in their local beaches, not worrying about sewage overflow. Corporate lens on council assets. Applying commercial thinking to how we manage property, facilities and procurement. We should modernise our corporate sponsorship policy, which was last updated in 2014, and make it easier for local businesses to be part of local procurement, not just talk about it. Every park, bin, playground has potential for innovative revenue streams, and we need to think smartly about this. Tourism. East Auckland tourism deserves to be on the map. We have multiple beaches, golf courses, cycleways, temples, playgrounds, malls, and the beautiful nationwide and internationally known Howick Historical Village. We have a rich cultural history, just 35 minutes from the ferry, and we are not on the AT Fuller's map as a destination. All our ward tourism groups across Auckland should be directly funded and supported to deliver events and benchmarked tourism initiatives that showcase their unique strengths and attract tourism out to all of our suburbs. Lastly, core services. This is only 8 of the 400, remember. Core services and value for money. Ensuring that their core services are delivered regularly, not fortnightly, on time and within budget, so Aucklanders see results and value for their rates. Finally, thank you to everybody that believed in me, supported me, and even challenged me. Thank you. I'm here to represent with integrity, passion, and determination. I'll bring fresh thinking, fast execution, and real results where I can. I will cut through red tape, ask the questions why, and go through the excuses. Together, I want to make Auckland the most sensational, inspirational, and celebrated city in the world. Thank you.
Terribly well inspired by the end of this. Councillor Gillen, please.
This is a 2 a.m. job, so we'll see how it goes. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko John Gillen aho, North Shore aho. First, I'd like to acknowledge those here today, governing body members, staff, members of the public, and those watching online. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and congratulations on your decisive victory this election. During the campaign, I met a lot of people who were supporting you because you had been shaking things up, particularly with the CCOs, which was long overdue, so well done. To the Deputy Mayor and my fellow councillors, congratulations on your elections and your re-elections. Congratulations also to all of the local board members around Auckland, especially to Danielle, Melanie, Paula, Janet, Tim, Raymond, Dave and Emma on the Kaipātiki local board, and to Trish, Scott, George, Gavin, Terence and Garth on the Devonport Takapuna local board. Both boards have been elected with a mixture of experienced members and fresh faces, both of which are really important for good governance. Great people on both boards, most of whom I know very well and I know will do a fantastic job this term. And I'll add that I'm very proud that for the second election in a row, our Shore Action team took out all 8 positions in Kaipātiki, which is no small feat. I'd like to sincerely thank all of the North Shore voters who supported me and to everyone I met on the campaign trail. I really appreciate the support and have already started work on how to deliver what I promised. I'd like to thank my family, Mandy, of course, who has supported me with, on this political journey and put up with late night and weekend meetings, and who supported me in my ambition to stand for councillor. Thank you also to my 2 daughters, Charlotte and Veronica. Thank you to everyone who helped with the different aspects of my campaign, delivering flyers, sign waving, putting up and taking down billboards. It was a huge effort, but I'd especially like to thank my parents, Grant and Kirsty, who literally hand-delivered my flyers to about half of the North Shore ward. I'd also like to thank my brother-in-law, Andy, who I'm sure still has nightmares of holding down 3-metre wooden hoardings in gale force winds. A bit about me. I love the North Shore. I was born on the North Shore Hospital, grew up on the shore, went to Takapuna Grammar School, and I'm now raising a young family in Beach Haven. Most of my extended family are around the North Shore, although Mandy's parents are in Pukekohe, so we're often down that way too. We have 2 daughters. One is 12 years old and recently went on a school technology trip to the USA. The other is a 3-year-old who was born with septo-optic dysplasia, so is fully blind and has developmental delays. I was first elected in 2007 to the Glenfield Community Board, part of North Shore City, and was chair for most of that term. Then in 2010, there was the Super City amalgamation, and I was elected to the Kaipātahi Local Board and have been a member since then, until now. I became chair of the board in 2018 and believe I have led a cohesive, stable and strong local board that wasn't afraid to stand up for the community and push back on inappropriate policies and decisions. 2 of the things that I did when I first became chair were to open all workshops to the public, which provided transparency and helped build confidence with the public, and something I'll be supporting at governing body. The other was to end ratepayer-funded meals. It's just so unnecessary for the ratepayer to be paying for elected members to eat. And this is something that I'll be encouraging the governing body to adopt, as it's still costing an average of $30,000 each year to feed councillors, and then even more so for the rest of council. My non-political background is as a technical writer, and I look forward to bringing my skills to the governing body's resolutions, which have at times been unclear and confusing not only to the public, but also to council staff trying to interpret them later. One example from last term is when the governing body cut 30% of all rubbish bins, public rubbish bins, and yet the resolution doesn't mention rubbish bins at all. Instead, it's included an attachment as a possible option to save money, but never directly approved. These important details need to be brought through from the reports and attachments into the resolutions as much as possible to increase transparency and so that elected members can be held to account for the decisions they make, particularly controversial ones. Over my time on the local board, I've become increasingly frustrated by some of the decisions made at the regional level, and these then have adverse consequences on the community front line. And this is one of the reasons I stood for council this time. A big concern is fairer funding for local boards, which can be made to work, but currently the current formula and the pool of funding that is fed into the formula aren't right. The main problem with the model is that it no longer takes into account existing assets and the cost of renewing or maintaining them. Next financial year, 8 local boards will be in a far worse position under fairer funding than they were previously, including the Devonport Takapuna Local Board, which is $500,000 down, possibly more. They've been considering cuts to library hours, community groups, reducing maintenance levels, selling public assets or letting them run down. The Kaipātahi Local Board initially benefited with an increase in OPEX. However, much of that is now being clawed back through cost increases, and their CapEx is being capped, so over time we'll be in a similar situation. The public did not find this acceptable when the North Shore pays around $200 million in rates each year, and these cuts affect the most frontline assets and services. However, I'm confident that we can work together to find a solution to get these local boards through to the next long-term plan with their budgets intact and then permanently fix the formula. I also want to ensure that specific budgets that have been deferred in previous LTPs are not re-deferred just as we catch up to them, including Kaipātaki's Ollie project at the Birkenhead War Memorial Park, which we're still waiting for, Stage 3 of the Beach Haven Coastal Walkway, and the budget for fixing Lake Road between Takapuna and Devonport. And speaking of Lake Road, this is a top priority for many people in my ward. When I was door knocking in the election, this was often what people wanted to be fixed or lamented that they could not possibly be fixed, that they'd given up hope. And that's not surprising because options were consulted on almost 10 years ago, but because at that time AT and the local board could not agree on a way forward, the budget was pushed out. We're about to finally catch up to that budget and with transport decision making set to come in-house, we're in a good position to finally fix Lake Road. I know that the 2023 storms are still vivid in our minds. There are many locations across Auckland that still need sizable investment to prevent another tragedy. The Milford area and wider Wairau catchment is a high priority for me, and I know for Councillor Hills as well. Not only were their lives lost, but many people went through frightening and difficult experiences at the time that were compounded later by the stress of insurance claims and buyouts, including family members of mine whose home was severely flooded on Nile Road and later bought out and has since been demolished. Currently, only stage 1 of a solution is funded, which is for a wetland storage area at AF Thomas Park that is projected to reduce flooding in Milford by 1/3 in a similar storm situation. I'm heartened, though, that possible options are under discussion to be able to fully fund stages 2 and 3. And I'll take this opportunity to encourage everyone to have their say on the future of the recreational part of AF Thomas Park, which is open for consultation now. We also need to increase preventative maintenance of our stormwater infrastructure across Auckland, including keeping channels and streams clear of rubbish and increasing the frequency of sucking out roadside catch pits, many of which are only cleared out twice a year. In conjunction with this, street sweeping also needs to be increased from the current 3-monthly schedule, particularly for roads with a lot of street trees that drop leaves and roads that have been downgraded to loose chip seal. Now, chip seal is a topic that I've been speaking out on for many years. I absolutely oppose the intentional downgrading of all of our suburban roads to loose, poor quality chip seal that has been happening routinely now for many years. I don't believe that Auckland Council has ever asked the public if they are happy to save costs by downgrading our roads. Yet since at least 2014, Auckland Transport has been implementing a policy to downgrade all suburban roads to chip seal where they carry less than 10,000 vehicles per day. That is virtually all neighbourhood roads apart from arterial routes. Often the surface chips are not pre-coated in bitumen, so the chips do not stay stuck down, and as they are often a smaller size than in the past, these loose stones are spread more easily and get everywhere. Instead of fully steamrolling the roads, the chips are left for passing cars to complete the job, and the public hate it. Even after several sweeps of the road, loose chips are spread everywhere for months and in some cases for years, causing problems for residents, safety issues for pedestrians, cyclists and prams, damage to vehicle brakes and tyres, danger when mowing the berm as they flick everywhere, and damage to carpets and wooden floors when they're trampled into the house. I will be pushing for this policy to be reassessed and for the public to be asked their view once this transport comes back into council. Another community concern across Auckland right now is Plan Change 120 and the radical changes proposed for our neighbourhoods in order to accommodate the government foisting unrealistic capacity onto Auckland. And all without any consideration of existing infrastructure constraints. And by infrastructure, I'm not just thinking of the usual 3 waters, electricity, roads, etc., which will all come under immense pressure, but also there's no scope to alleviate constraints on parks, community facilities, schools, cemeteries and car parks to cope with a massive increase in population that Plan Change 120 will allow. And because this projected development isn't being focused or staged in particular locations, I fear that we'll continue to see ad hoc developments popping up on every road as we've been seeing over the last few years, but on a much greater scale. Council will be forced to upgrade infrastructure everywhere to cope with this rather than in planned and staged areas. And because development contributions don't get tagged to the area where the development is located, in most cases ratepayers will need to pick up the tab for the infrastructure to support the new developments. Another related aspect is that the last government stopped councils from requiring on-site car parks, and the current government hasn't reversed that. As the city intensifies, suburban roads are already clogging up with parked cars, causing safety issues and frustration. We need to put pressure on the government to change this before we intensify further. There's also been a lot of focus recently on the increase in heights and intensity along transport corridors and walkable catchments proposed in Plan Change 120, but there's also proposed to be a huge shift from single house zone and mixed suburban zone to mixed urban zone. So I encourage everyone to have your say on the consultation that is now open. Another matter I want to address in this term is compliance and enforcement, which I believe is underfunded and under-resourced. Yet this is a core service of council and must be adequately funded. Whether it's complaint about noise, dogs, pollution, dumping of rubbish or green waste, sediment runoff, illegal street trading or freedom camping, when a complaint is made by a member of the public, there is an expectation that it will be acted upon in a timely manner. However, often cases are triaged as low priority and not investigated and then closed. Some local boards, including Kaipātiki, are trialling funding local compliance officers, which is already seeing results. However, they shouldn't be having to fund this. The regional level of service needs to be increased to get on top of the current issues. One of my achievements on the local board is the investment into shade sails over playgrounds, both when new playgrounds are built, but also installing them over existing playgrounds. Shade sails are extremely important as they protect children from the sun, but also prevent the equipment from getting scorching hot and allow the playground to be used all year round. This also extends the life of the equipment and the public's investment. And while trees can be preferable in some instances, they do not shade the equipment during the middle of the day when the sun is at its highest point and shadows are at their smallest. I believe that shade sails should be rolled out over all playgrounds across Auckland, and I'm really disappointed that there's no, or it doesn't appear to be, that I can find no council sun smart policy ensuring that shade is a compulsory feature, as it is often the first thing to be removed or not even considered due to budget. This needs to change, and I want to see a regional sun smart policy. The park and facility maintenance contract comes up for renewal soon under Project 27, and before it's locked in for another 10 years, I want to make sure that standards are restored and that local boards have the power and funding to enable local procurement if they choose to, We also need to ensure that community buildings are well maintained, as I'm aware of several that have deteriorated in recent years and now need a huge amount of work and money and potentially may need to be demolished, and what appears to be a lack of maintenance. Almost at the end, regional park. This term I will be promoting the opportunity to create a fantastic new inner harbour headland regional park by combining 3 existing Birkenhead parks, Chelsea Estate Heritage Park, Carry Point Centennial Park and Chatswood Reserve. The land has beaches, native bush, open spaces, views over the Waitemata Harbour, historic pass sites, ponds and dams, heritage buildings, and potential park ranger accommodation. It would also be closer and more accessible to North Shore and city residents and other regional parks, and as it is already public land, there would be no acquisition costs for council. It's a win-win for council, and I look forward to making the case to the governing body. I'm going to end there, although I could go on about congestion charging, fortnightly rubbish, and much more. There's lots I want to sink my teeth into this term. Once again, congratulations, everybody. Thank you for your time. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gillen. Councillor Patterson-Hamlin, please.
I ngā manga e ngā reo i ngā rangatira mā, ngā manihiri, tēnā koutou katoa. No Otipoti hea, ko whau te kāinga i nāenei, ko takiwātanga me aorere tēnei ahau, ko Sarah Patterson-Hamlin toku ingoa. Congratulations to all of my fellow councillors here on your election. I know that you all understand that it takes a village to get to this point. The mayor of my village is my husband Bernie, and its councillors include my sons, Lonan and Ezra, my campaign team, Margot Govers, Pooja Sundar, Sarah Wilson, Kay Thomas, Deborah Russell, Manushi Walters, and the rest of the faux Labour team, my Avondale neighbours, ngā matua me ngā kaiko o te whānau Pātiki, the Hamlins, the Ponsonby Baptist, Ross and Raukatore whānau, the residents of Benview in Dingwall, Scotland, my goddaughters Lucy and Rashmi, my siblings Robin and Keith, their wives Paula and Forrest, and my niece Poppy. To all of them, I extend my heartfelt thanks for your encouragement and support, as well as to the many diverse communities of Whau. My parents did not live to see the beginning of my time in local government, but of course they were also a vital part of my journey towards it. They were immigrants from Zimbabwe, themselves the children of immigrants from the UK. They had moved to Dunedin only a few months before I came along, a surprise Pōtiki at a challenging time. They were a Presbyterian minister and a maths teacher, so naturally highly valued the educational heritage of our new home. My time at the University of Otago was bolstered by an apprenticeship at the Otago Museum, where I learned about everything from the Union Steamship Company, the Great Southern Octopus, to mummification rituals and how to best feed a tarantula in front of a crowd. It's also where I met my now husband. From there, under the tutelage and mentorship of Professor Leah McIlvanney, and thanks to the William Georgetti Scholarship, I ended up at the University of Glasgow doing a PhD in literature. Scotland at that time was asking itself fundamental questions of governance and identity, and the first doors I ever knocked on for a political campaign were in pursuit of Scottish independence. For someone who loves politics, books and dreich weather, it was a glorious time. It was at the conclusion of this PhD that I moved here to Auckland. It was Christmas 2016, and that means that the only version of Auckland I have ever lived in has been the supercity. I found a home here and a purpose within the Down syndrome community. They gave me a place where they themselves had so often been denied one, and I will never forget it. When my eldest child was 2 and I was pregnant with my second and final, I found myself in Avondale through a series of fortunate events. Immediately, it reminded me of Glasgow, a city that welcomes with open arms, even as it celebrates its own unique culture. These are places that accept you as part of their fabric if you've been there for 9 months or 9 generations. Whau more widely contains, I have found, the best and most neglected of our city. When the local board asked of our rangatahi last year, what do you aspire for youth to have in Aotearoa? The most common answer we received was chairs and tables in a room that we're allowed to sit in. When you speak with optimism of a whau pool one day in the future, you receive pitying looks that speak loudly of dreams deferred. My predecessor put the whau pool as her top priority in her maiden speech 3 years ago, and the first steps of this long-awaited process are now underway. I am also putting it on the top of my priorities so that I continue this aspiration, worked on and progressed slowly but surely by so many over so long, so that Mairohe, disadvantaged for decades as a result of its place on the fringes of former council boundaries, can at last begin to catch up. This is why another big concern for me this term will be retaining the Avondale racecourse for the public after its last race is held next year. This is an aspiration for me as a representative of whau, but also as a member of this regional governing body. This historic piece of land has been providing our city with stormwater absorption and flood mitigation, a bird sanctuary for koaka or gulrits and dozens of other storm bird species, spaces for regional training and competition in rugby, soccer, cricket, running and kapahaka, among others. It provides a crucial space for the mental and physical health of residents in Avondale and far beyond, not to mention the beloved Sunday markets, thought to be the largest and oldest in Aotearoa. Should we miss the opportunity to retain this crucial but vulnerable asset, it is the Auckland region as a whole that will pay the price, far beyond whau alone. And once it's gone forever. I have been elected to represent whau, from Blockhouse Bay to Kelston, from New Windsor to New Lynn, but I also consider it my honour and duty to represent as best I can the needs and aspirations of Auckland's tangata whaikaha, disabled people. As an autistic person, I am accustomed to navigating a world that was not built for people like me, and that often does not understand either the challenges or the strengths that come with being born this way. As an autistic ADHD counsellor, I may do things a little differently. I may make a little less eye contact. I might miss some social cues, need a little more structure, and take things a bit more literally. But there will be strengths I bring to this table as a result of this neurodiversity too. I won't ever knowingly lie. I will become fascinated with the topics I am tasked with and research them in exhaustive detail. From time to time, I will be able to see things in a different way, ask a new kind of question, and represent different ways of experiencing this city. In my professional life over the past 8 years, working for Upside Downs, the New Zealand Down Syndrome Association, and the Rokotodi Music Therapy Trust, I've been fortunate to work with hundreds of whānau also trying to navigate a world full of barriers, outdated stereotypes, and misunderstanding for themselves or their loved ones. I've also applied for somewhere in the region of 600 grants, around 100 of those through Auckland Council. This has left me with some pretty strong opinions about the way we're currently serving our community organisations that you can expect to hear more about from me over the triennium. We will all experience disability at some point in our lives. From a temporary sprained ankle to life-limiting illness, there is no one who moves through this life entirely unimpaired. But our city doesn't have to compound those challenges. There are simple things we can do along the way, as well as the big and bold ones, to make Auckland a global leader in accessibility, for our visitors as well as our residents. Access maps, easy read documents, curb cuts, relaxed performances. And it's amazing how almost every effort made to consider access needs also ends up benefiting someone else. A pavement wide enough for a wheelchair is also wide enough for a pram. Lighting standards that allow someone with epilepsy, autism, or a brain injury to use a building has also been shown to boost productivity and reduce stress for neurotypical people. In my time on the local board, I've always tried to ask the questions that will ensure different needs are considered at the outset and not as an afterthought. Just as the rangatahi of whau asked only for chairs and tables, so often in my mahi with disabled people and their whānau, the ask is often nothing more than to simply be considered. When a community is undervalued or ignored for so long, their aspirations can dwindle to a trickle. We owe whau better than that, and we owe tangata whaikaha better than that. In my valedictory a few weeks ago at the whau local board, I quoted one of my favourite lines in New Zealand music. It's from the Mutton Bird song Envy of Angels. You have to know what's under your feet so you can make things strong enough to take the weight of all the people who haven't been born. That's the weight we carry in local government, knowing at the same time that cities are organic things and they don't necessarily listen to us as they grow. The Super City has created a blossoming identity info, and it continues to provide us with opportunities to make Auckland a city that sparkles like the Hauraki Gulf in summer, that truly works for its people, all of its people, whatever their needs or backgrounds. I am honoured to be a small part of Auckland's story. Kia ora.
Thank you for that. Councillor Short, please.
Damn, I feel short. Kam the Banini Māori and tēnā koutou katoa. What an absolute honour it is to stand here today and deliver my maiden speech, not just as a councillor, but as the representative of the Albany ward, which, let's be honest, is clearly the most beautiful ward in all of Auckland. No offence to the rest of you. To the people of Albany, thank you. Your faith, your trust, your votes, your texts at 11 p.m. about potholes, and your belief that a girl from Torbay could one day stand in this chamber. You didn't just elect me, you gave me the mandate for a better, more progressive, more functional Auckland, and I intend to deliver. But before I get into my story, let me just take a moment to acknowledge and congratulate my fellow councillors. To everyone sitting here, whether you're returning with battle scars and wisdom, or like me, wide-eyed and wondering if I'm supposed to press the green button or the red button, congratulations. You've knocked on doors, you've survived debates, and somehow convinced thousands of people to trust you with their rates money. That's no small feat. I also want to take a moment to thank my village. If there is one thing I've learned, is that it really does take a village to succeed in my role. My village are my backbone. They are people that I can lean on, and for that I am deeply grateful. To my husband, Alan, thank you. You keep pushing me to stay true to my values and encourage me to keep going, even when the hours are long and the challenges are steep. Your belief in me has been the foundation of every step I've taken in this journey. And to my beautiful daughters, Annalena and Chelsea, thank you for sharing me with our community and now our city. You too have shown such grace and strength, cheering me on and reminding me why this work matters. I hope I have made you proud. Now, as our Mayor Brownie so generously put it in PMN News, I'm apparently clever, smart, intelligent, and tough. High praise from a man who doesn't hand out compliments like lollies. Though, Mr. Mayor, if you had seen me before my first candidates meeting in 2019, where I was sobbing and begging my husband to take me home, you might have added emotionally volatile to the list. But here I am, tough. The obstacles, the hardships I faced along the way are what forged my resilience. I've never shared this journey publicly, but it shaped me into who I am today, and I wouldn't change a thing. Growing up, I don't think I ever said I wanted to be a politician. In fact, I don't think I knew anything about politics. However, when I actually sit back and think of the past and everything that I went through, I strongly believe that those decisions, experiences, and the people I've met along this journey have really shaped who I am today. So in my family, I am one of 8, 4 boys, 4 girls. I'm fondly known to my dad as 5/8. I am first generation Kiwi, and my father is originally from the UK, and my mother is from a tiny island in the South Pacific Ocean called Kiribati. School was never my strength. I showed up for lunch, my friends, and sport. Nothing else registered. No debate team, no prefect badge, no academic spark. I scraped level 2 and then was kindly asked to leave Long Bay College because my grades and attendance had seriously flatlined. At 17, I worked for my sister, fell into a relationship with a Kiribati boy, and chased the weekend like it was the only thing that mattered. Then at 18, I was pregnant with my first child. I had deeply disappointed my family. I had no job, no money, and bound by tradition was engaged to this Kiribati boy, relying on him entirely. The next 5 years were the darkest of my life, a relationship steeped in fear, manipulation, domestic violence, and isolation. Yet, from that darkness came one radiant light, my daughter, Annalena. Honestly. Born just 10 days after I turned 19. Annalena's name is quite unusual, and in fact, she's named after my 2 favourite players, Anna and Nina from the PlayStation game Tekken 6. Yeah, Super millennial of me, I know. Throughout this time, I dipped in and out of university, had multiple random jobs, and tried to raise Annalena the best way I knew how. So during this time, a job came up to work for our local MP, Murray McCulley. I'd been following an MP called Paula Bennett, who I related to so much. She was a young solo mum, and she also started off her political career in McCulley's office in Browns Bay. I decided to apply and give it a go. I had honestly nothing else to lose. He interviewed me, and we spoke for a while, and I was offered the job. He gave me a chance. I knew this role I was given with McCulley was not one to waste. I found myself consumed in the world of central politics. I was determined to prove myself. I would work extremely long hours, I would read policies, do hours of research, and try to become the subject matter expert on anything that was needed. I loved my job. I was helping constituents with their issues, and I loved the politics that surrounded it. In 2019, I found I was losing the passion for the role. There was a new MP in place, and I felt the direction it was going didn't fit my values. I had this invaluable experience and knowledge gained from McCulley, and I had a deep love for helping our community. I had to think about what options I realistically had, and I desperately wanted to make a change. And one way I knew to achieve this was to run for the local board. This decision led to 6 years on the Hibiscus and Bays local board, 3 years as deputy chair, and 3 years as a member. It was while I was elected on the local board, raising my 2 girls, that I dived headfirst back into university, which was really intimidating for someone like me who never finished high school. I knew in order to serve our community and do the role justice, I needed to upskill and invest in my own education. I never thought I'd end up loving accountancy, finance, and governance. So if you were to tell me when I was 18, pregnant, no job, and no money, that I would become a frickin' councillor for the Albany ward, an accountant, and the first person of Kiribati descent to ever be elected into a government position in New Zealand history, I wouldn't have believed you. I stand here before you as proof that hard work, determination, and struggle, you can achieve great success. And more importantly, when you put in the mahi, the community will always stand with you too. And that the struggles you endure do not define you, they forge you. For my children, I want them to know that there are no boundaries and that education and hard work is the key to success. Many people have told me how difficult this role is, that it's long hours, hard work, thankless, and downright grueling. But to be honest, for me, nothing about this is intimidating or scary. I've survived the hardest parts life could throw at me. And this is the fun part. This is where I get to use all of my life experiences and academic studies to shape the future of our amazing city. I am so optimistic for the future of Auckland, a city, a community that has entrusted a once naive Kiribati girl from little old Tall Bay with a seat around this table. And I'll do my best to represent the views of all ethnicities, backgrounds, abilities, ages, and status. This table isn't the finish line, it's the starting line, and there is so much work that needs to be done. And I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and cracking on with it. As someone who comes from financial struggles, I value every single dollar, a mindset I will apply to all council expenditure. As someone who is formally trained as an accountant, I will apply sound governance and financial rationale to all my decision making. As someone who has lived in Auckland their entire life, I am deeply vested in making the city a place that we're all proud to call our home for us and generations to come. Rambasandapa o Amibel, te Māori, te Rai, o te Tapa Moa. Thank you.
Thank you for that very much, Councillor Winiata. The bar is getting higher.
Kia ora. Ko Māua toku maunga, ko Taronga Moana toku awa, ko Huria toku marae, ko Ngāti Ranganui toku iwi, ko Maharai Winiatu toku koru, ko Matthew Tutiranga Grayson Winiatu toku ingoa. Tēnā koutou, hello. Firstly, thank you to my family, Mum, Dad, Georgia, Cam, James, Dave, Amanda, Jax, Luca, Aidan, my co-pilot, my friends, my supporters, my colleagues, Councillor Daniel Newman, thank you. My team, Brian, Glenn, Heather, Italia, Phyllis, Marshall, Raywin, Paparangi and Judy, Calvin, Brent, Jan, George, Felicity and Andrew, my amazing Manarewa Local Board Services team, Manoj, Sarah, Claire, Sopo, Justine, Rohan and Mel, Ken, Ane, Glenn, Rick, Rima, Roger, Danielle, Lincoln, Richie, David, Jeff, Fiona, Jordan, Brian, Barnett, Carla, the Marlins, AFC, tennis, netball, squash, table tennis and rugby, Liz. The time you put into our community means we get a chance at rewriting the future that was set out for us, and I wouldn't be here without any of you. Thanks to the communities of Manarewa and Papakura and those who voted, supported and trusted me through the last 3 years, and didn't think I did too bad of a job and elected myself and the team in pretty emphatic fashion. It was a privilege to serve you all, and I will approach the next 3 years with the same tenacity and vigour which has brought a brighter future to my community. Congratulations to you, Your Worship, Mayor Wayne Brown, Deputy Mayor Leslie Simpson, and my fellow councillors, and warmest congratulations and welcome to my colleagues from local boardland, John, Bo, Victoria and Sarah. We make up 25% of the governing body, so while we're no strangers to council, each of us brings our own unique perspective and view on the world which can only benefit the City of Auckland, and I look forward to sharing our first 3 years as councillors together. I can proudly say that I finished my first 3 years on the local board successfully, and a lot of it was made possible by the conversations that took place here in these walls between you all, and for that I'm grateful. It's meant a fresh start for the youth and the community of my town. Now, I knew public service would be challenging, and we have certainly been served with a challenge. From Plan Change 78 to Plan Change 120, from seeing recent central government promises for 100,000 new homes to Auckland now needing to support 2 million. Can we accommodate this? Do we have enough parks and schools and sports fields? Do we have the space for more schools with the impending population growth that PC 120 insists that we provide for? Not only that, but dog attacks are destroying communities and keeping kids in fear just from walking to school. There's illegal dumping from those without a care or consideration for the environment and community they are polluting. I firmly believe we have to keep it weekly. There's kids huffing on laughing gas in quantities that's bringing tears to the hearts of the families it's destroying. That was it, that's my tears, everyone. Iwi ahika mana whenua are seeking their home be recognised in a system that's legislated to honour te tiriti, but changes so often it seems to forget tikanga. And that's just the last 8 weeks. So yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but I see here around me the experience, life and energy in a governing body who, by committing to the next 3 years of leadership through service, has been chosen to be the decision makers not just for our communities today, but for the many millions who will call Auckland home in future years to come. But our people won't need us in time. That time is now. So, can we make it work? Are we destined to be another Sisyphus? Will we torment ourselves with the same burdens year after year, starting over and over again? Or will we finally knock the bugger off and cross the threshold with the vision that Auckland needs? We need to do as the Mayor stated in his opening term address, we have to ask the right questions for the problems we're trying to solve. If council was a business, would our shareholders be confident in the direction we're headed in? With the way we're eating ourselves, shareholders would be running, and we need to change this. Council's long gotten in the way of itself to try and move forward. We're complicating simpler outcomes. We clearly have some of the best people and minds across almost every industry wearing the emblem of Te Kaunihera o Tamaki Makaurau, but are we also blind to what our partners in this business are doing? How many times have contractors been called out to pick up illegal dumping, but the contract says they can only collect hard fill, not the loose litter they see in front of them, and in turn, they have to pass the job on to someone else. Both come with call-out costs, and both cost the ratepayer, and therefore ratepayers aren't seeing value in the hard-earned money that we collect. We're measuring once, cutting twice, and letting process trump logic. If we can't do the simple things now, what kind of future are we setting ourselves up for? It's not our fault, but this has led the central government to legislatively change how we should operate by getting back to basics. There's room for efficiency if we open our minds and consider that the right answer could in fact be what it's always been, the most simple answer. Cost efficiency, savings or optimisation shouldn't come as job cuts, they should come as a collective, connected approach to delivering on what we promise. An efficient service across all businesses built around a promise made every term to be as efficient as we can and treat every dollar like it's the last and make the best decisions we can in the interests of ratepayers. How can this be measured? Take a look at our communities and decide whether you think they are truly, truly happy. We must be fiscally responsible, and I applaud the Mayor and those involved in establishing the Future Fund scheme, but we aren't in the money business, we're in the smiles business. We have communities masking the hurt from effects of an economy we can't control, with rate rises decide for us in years gone by from projects approved in hope, but coming with a fiscal bottom line that says nope. Many are struggling and fewer are really happy with where they're headed. Bike hubs, community events, concerts, skate parks, playgrounds, sports fields, activations and pop-ups. Visit any of these and you'll see smiles on the faces and light in the hearts of our communities burning bright. But if council's looking at getting out of the business of facilities, will this diminish the number of spaces that have long been the creative spark of hope and life in our growing communities? And will we see the spark waver and potentially disappear in the future? We can't lose sight of how Plan Change 120 will feature in the future of these communities. So are we seeding clouds for a storm, or are we seeding the forest for a better tomorrow? It starts with us. I've always felt Auckland was great when it was trying to be the best Auckland it could be, not another London or New York, so we can't forget about the people of Auckland today and the future generations who are looking to us to guide them forward. So to you all, I ask that we listen more than we speak. We come prepared and we trust in ourselves and each other to be who the community need us to be. And to finish, I'm grateful and excited for the opportunities afforded me by the Mayor to join my colleagues on the Safety and Regulatory Committee, Community, leading the Māori Outcomes portfolio, the Domain Committee, and I look forward to working with all of the staff across the Council in achieving success in the mahi that lays ahead. Sorry. This next part was written by my grandfather. Ina aro atu ana. Dang it. Ina aro atu ana te oranga ki ngā mea pai. Ka rere te wairua ka taia ngā mea katoa. When our lives are attuned to good things, when the mind is clear and the spirit flows freely, all is possible. And je travaille maintenant au Council Municipal d'Auckland. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for those five very enriching speeches, and we certainly look forward to the input from those to join the rest of us here. I'll move, and it'll be seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that we receive these maiden speeches with great thanks too, actually. And I'll just call the five back again. We can have a photo with me and the Deputy Mayor before we carry on to the next thing. And there'll be a 5-minute break for anyone who needs to go to the loo. Okay. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, well, that's the first one we've got right. Thank you very much. You can go if you want to.
Yes, split it here, because there's not a lot being decided, all the transition and stuff. I just want to make sure they don't fuck up the orders.
Don't fucking do this. These guys are hiring a multidisciplinary design consortium.
No, we don't need to be hiring anybody.
No. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen and councillors, for that. The next thing here is, I might notice it's actually an armistice day today. At 11 o'clock we stop killing each other and back at World War I. We'll just note that, we're not going to stand and have 5 minutes. The next thing is item 5.1, where Katie and Meredith are going to come along and tell us about all the dozens of rules which they've generously passed in Wellington to make us behave well. And you'll note here that there is 3, 6, 9, 11 laws which I don't expect you all to know, but they will take some effort. So we're going to have that now, and next meeting, I'm asking the staff to comment on the rules that they have to obey as well, because it's one thing to tell us what we've got to do, but staff have to show up, do work, carry out elected officials' instructions, and must not make political decisions. We've had some of that in the past. So today it's your turn to tell us what to do, and next week we're going to listen to next meeting we will be hearing from what you've got to do in order that we're not unhappy about it. Thank you. I welcome you, Kate and Meredith.
Kia ora koutou. As the Mayor said, my name is Meredith Webb. I'm the Acting General Counsel at the moment, and with me I've got Katie Bexley, who is Acting Associate General Counsel Public Law. So a bit of a double act there. The Local Government Act requires us to give you a general explanation of the laws affecting elected members at the beginning of each term, and so this report is essentially us satisfying that requirement. We don't want to go into detail here today because we had a really well-attended legal induction session in which we covered all of the detail around these laws, and we also have the attachment to the report which gives you a little bit more detail on all of the laws that are set out in paragraph 3 of your report. So given that, hopefully we'll just a quick overview to meet that legal requirement. So in terms of the laws that affect you individually, there's the Members' Interest Act, and so that requires you not to participate in decisions in which you have a financial interest, and also limits your ability to act as an elected member in circumstances where you have contracts of more than $25,000 per year with the council. There's the Crimes and Secret Commissions Act, which focus on bribery and corrupt use of official information and improper gains. The Financial Markets Conduct Act and the NZX listing rules apply to us, you know, because we list bonds on various stock exchanges, and that's the sort of the legal framework in particular which has all the requirements around the disclosure of information and requires us to keep information confidential before it goes to the market. The Health and Safety at Work Act establishes health and safety duties for council and places particular obligations on officers, which includes obviously senior council staff, but also elected members. And finally, we've got the Local Government Act provisions around unlawful council losses. So those are the ones that affect you individually, and I'll just pass over to Katie to talk to you about the ones that affect you on a collective basis.
Thanks, Meredith, and kia ora koutou. In terms of those laws that affect you collectively, the first on the list is the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, or LGOIMA, as we like to call it because it's easier to say, which covers both council meetings and also local authority information. And that act is really founded on those key principles of openness and transparency. Next on the list is the Local Government Act, which sets out the general framework for all local authorities, including both the purpose and the role of local government, and the decision-making requirements which apply to all council decisions.
Here in Auckland, we of course have the Local Government Auckland Council Act, which is unique to us, that established Auckland Council and, among other things, sets out the shared governance framework and arrangement between governing body and local boards. Next, really important to note that council decisions must be consistent with human rights obligations under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act and the Human Rights Act, noting in particular that the Bill of Rights Act affirms, protects and promotes human rights and fundamental freedoms, and the Human Rights Act prohibits discrimination in the public and private sector on prohibited grounds set out in section 21 of that Act, including age, sex, religious and ethical belief, colour, race, disability and political opinion. Also important to note that many statutes under which you take decisions, such as things like the Resource Management Act or the Reserves Act, sometimes set out their own decision-making requirements with which you must comply. And then, of course, there are general public law principles which require you to act lawfully, fairly and reasonably. So as Meredith mentioned, this has just been a really quick summary in light of the detailed report on the agenda and the attachment to that and the training session that has already been provided. We are, of course, always ready and willing to help with any questions you have and any legal issues arising. So if you need legal advice on any particular decision or issue, please don't hesitate to contact Meredith or I directly or the wider legal team through the Legal Services email address. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a mover and a seconder for noting this? Thank you. Henderson and Hills. Now there's a generous supply of law from Wellington about this here. It's a wonder we're able to make any decisions at all without breaking a law there. And as a result of me being in bed for days with relief, I read everything and I discovered that we're not allowed to discriminate on the basis of religious or ethical belief, whatever that is, colour, race, disability or political opinion. And they forgot to add an age, of course. I say that to say discriminate, anti-discriminating against an aged person, which I share with Mike Lee. We will make sure that that doesn't happen. Anyhow, has anyone got anything to want to add to that horrific list? Councillor Sayers.
Just a question, Your Worship, and that's on that individual basis, Meredith, around the health and safety. And probably specifically around registers, health and safety registers, and what our, because as a director of a private company, you need to be spotting things yourself and noting those in a safety register. And so how does that apply to us as councillors, and also a little bit wider, because some of us will have responsibilities on outside organisations. It might be the main committee or it might be some other group which is off-site from here as well. So just trying to understand our legal obligations there as individuals in terms of registering anything that we might note. And if we don't do that, what does the law say about that?
So the main way that we discharge that obligation is through the reporting to the Audit and Risk Committee. So the Health and Safety team, they report through the Audit and Risk Committee. That is reported through to governing body. And your approach there is a little bit like reviewing financial statements, where you get the quarterly performance reports. It's really receiving that information, reviewing it, and then identifying, if there are any particular issues that are showing up there. But that's generally the way that those obligations are discharged. In terms of sort of the obligations, when you're sitting on committees as an elected member, you should be receiving advice and support from staff to discharge those obligations. You have a governance role, so there are clearly limits around how much you can do. You're not in there, doing the work yourself, and it really is a responsibility for staff to make sure that you are receiving the information to support you to discharge those obligations. There is an exclusion for liability for elected members in relation to those due diligence duties under the Health and Safety at Work Act, but it doesn't make the requirement to sort of fulfil those obligations any less important. Yeah.
If I may, Meredith, also asking, again, in the private sector, a director is frequently asked to walk around a workplace and identify hazards. Do we have to do that? Do we have to do that around the council facilities, or again, if we're on outside organisations visiting somewhere, or responsible for a certain piece of land or facilities have to be identifying hazards and registering those? And if we do, where do you register those?
Look, the health and safety team, we obviously we have done SAFE, so we have quite a large framework around this area of compliance for council, and you know, we've got specialist staff who are identifying what needs to be provided to elected members and what doesn't, and where a view is taken that more information needs to go, then staff will provide that to you. But generally, you can rely on our specialist health and safety staff to be providing you with the information that you need and to be identifying where there are further obligations for you.
Okay, just so I'm quite clear, so I don't have to personally walk around, identify hazards and register them, is it?
No, we have a process for that. You have to be satisfied that the council itself is undertaking that, and through that reporting, you'll be hearing what council is doing in that space. But no, you don't personally need to go and review each of the hazards.
Right, thank you.
We, Councillor, we might provide some further clarification around this. I just make the point that your responsibilities as elected members are not exactly the same as in a private company capacity as a director. There are some quite material differences, including your being indemnified through the legislation. But I think we'll take it offline and clarify for you how you exercise those due diligence responsibilities, just to note that they're a bit different.
There have been recently something from the government about an allowance for CCTV and bits and pieces where people have been threatened. I had some nasty threats from the Speedway group, and I may well take up that option. So, is there any further questions about that? Okay, well, you can step back. Thank you for that. And if there's no discussion on that, I'll just put the motion that we receive that. Oh, Councillor Philippinum.
Tēnā koe hea mana, Chair, and tēnā koutou katoa. Phil, just to yours, and my whakaaro back to you is that I think with the Health and Safety Act, when it first came in, I remember the training and at workshop we got in regards to the obligations as a chair and deputy chair with the Health and Safety Work Act. So I think that would be good to at least have a workshop around it, looking at through the agenda and looking at the committee structure and the chairs and deputy chairs. I think it would be an opportune time with the 5 new councillors, but also a refresh for those that have been around this table to have something around a workshop for that Health and Safety Act. Kia ora.
Yeah, very happy to accommodate that.
Yeah, kia ora.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. We are going to have a workshop about standing orders as well, so that will add into that. It's just about how we're going to run this better, I think, but that's a wise thing because the health and safety things are always changing. All right, all those in favour of that, please say aye. The contrary, thank you very much. We'll move to item 5.2, which is the establishment and the committees and appointments of chairpersons. This term I want us to work together a bit more and get on with things. We'll go into more detail about the terms of reference and the membership of the committees in the next item, but thank you to everyone for your input. We've carefully considered workloads and timings to make sure things are manageable for everybody without every councillor being on every single committee. There are 3 committees of the whole, plus 6 committees with a smaller membership, and various other forums, authorities, trusts and entities. I've also proposed that Councillors Henderson and Williamson be Council Directors of Auckland Transport. Excuse me. These were discussed with councillors over the last couple of weeks as well as on Wednesday last week, for those of you who are well enough to attend. Let's move with these things for now and then line things up properly if people want changes. By the way, all councillors can attend any committees that they want to. I'll move this and the Deputy Mayor will second this. That it's out there for you all to go through. I've also added in here a note to request that Auckland Transport reschedule their board meetings to Thursdays to enable Councillor Henderson and Williamson to attend. We have shifted the governing body from Thursday to the Tuesday. It's the following one because there was a bit of pressure on getting through the agendas, and now you'll have the weekend to get through the agendas. And sometimes they're quite big. And I'm not always going to have 12 days in bed sick to read them. But I do annoy everybody by reading them, I've got to tell you that. So is there any further discussion about this? There's quite a big lot there, and you've seen the little book where you've all ended up. And it's very hard to please everybody, but I think we've got reasonably close to it. If there's anything that you're particularly unhappy about and wanted to be on another committee or drop off one, see me afterwards. I think it would be the best way to deal with that. We will be having a bit more of a debate about what goes on in the actual details of those committees. We have attempted to update that from where it was in the past as well. So, anybody want to raise any issues and discussion about where we've got to? Ken? Councillor Turner, by the way.
I'm having struggling here. I've lost Resolve. I can't raise it on my phone. I can't even get up the public view to it. So I had notes on stuff that I put there.
What does he want me to do?
Your Worship, we're using this new system, and if you don't touch it in a while, it just logs you off, and it takes forever to come back. So I think a number of us are sharing Councillor Turner's frustration.
Oh, apparently our Wi-Fi has gone. The nearer the digital age comes, the further away it gets. Where are your questions there, Councillor Turner? Can you?
By memory, Mr. Mayor, so this is the full list of committees, correct? And the terms of reference which were in there. I know we had an email about some stuff in there, but I noticed the terms of reference still had scheduling in the words that I read this morning. So I'm just lost at the moment without being able to pull up my facts again.
Your Worship.
What are you looking for, his list?
Your Worship, just through you, you were going to workshop the timing of the meetings for Councillor Turner to talk that through?
Except it doesn't say that in the terms of reference.
Just to get this right, Councillor Turner, if it's a question about terms of reference, that's the next item. Okay. Hang on. The next item is the terms of reference, so I'll just hold that for then and hope we find your questions for you. I've got Councillor Lee and Councillor Newman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations to yourself and colleagues, and also my congratulations and thanks to the new members for their maiden speeches. Obviously, putting personalities and responsibilities together is obviously demanding, and one doesn't like to be critical. However, and thank you for the appointment to the chair of the Auckland Domain Committee. The Auckland Domain is a very important park in the Auckland region. It's 75 hectares. The Auckland Regional Parks Network does not have a committee, and that's 45,000 hectares. Regional parks are a unique Auckland invention going back to the early 1960s. They are extremely popular. Our regional parks cover 45,000 hectares. That is 3.3 times bigger than the Auckland Isthmus. And there's some shots of the Auckland, part of the Auckland Isthmus up there. And I think it's a concern. The Auckland Regional Parks Network is economically important, with 10,950 stock units. It's also important in terms of tourism and visitors, with 5 million visitors per year. In the Local Government Act, regional parks have their own sections, 139, 139A, and they're also referred to in 16.5A. So the concern is here when it comes to managing this enormous area of land, that we may be acting like Queen Street farmers. Farmer Brown and the Queen Street farmers. It's something I would ask you, Mr. Mayor, to consider, that regional parks really do need to be democratically administered. They are that important, and I will leave things on that note. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. Have you got a question, Councillor Newman?
Well, it's not a question, it's just a quick comment, actually.
Okay, off you go.
Well, resolve's gone for me, but just to make the point, and I have had a conversation with Chair David Taipuri just to clarify, as I understand it, the appointment of the Haukura Chair as the Deputy Chair of the Appointments and Performance Review Committee is pending consultation with Haukura, because obviously they'll need to get through their discussions shortly. I know he will appreciate your appointing him, but he will just need to confirm that matter once he's been able to get through his committee discussions as well at Haukura.
I hope that goes well. It was actually my appointment, but we'll see how they go. But thanks for raising that point. It's been moved and seconded, so all those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, carried. Thank you very much. Just in order to restore the technology, we'll have a 5-minute break here, and then we'll resume with the 5.3, which is in fact the terms of reference of the committees, and there may be some discussion about those. Thank you very much. For returning, I believe the Chief Executive's got an update on the technology fix and its impact. Thank you.
Councillors, to the extent I understand this stuff, just humour me, but so they had what they think was a couple of problems with the Wi-Fi system going down and then triggering something in Resolve. Don't quote me on that. They've reset everything and they've put a patch in the meeting software, Resolve meeting software. So it is working again now, but and so that'll be our default start position, that you're back on your laptops in that system. As a precaution, in the event that we have a further problem, we don't want it to interrupt things again. So you are being emailed the agenda papers, minus all of the attachments, which are really there for reading, not for. But you know, go to that. If something goes wrong again, we'll just pause at that point. What I'm going to do is ask all of the staff here and anyone else who doesn't need to be to come off Wi-Fi, so that the priority is given in the event that the number of people attaching coming onto Wi-Fi in the space is causing some of the problem. Everyone else comes off, so the priorities with councillors for the time being, myself included. So there'll be a bit of a debrief to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or at least to the extent that we can try and assure that it won't happen again. Okay?
Okay, thank you for that. Hopefully it's working. We're on item 5.3, the terms of reference for the committees. We've taken a bit of time to work with the chairs to go through the terms of reference that affect their committees, so thank you for your input. These can be amended during future decisions, and we've done that period. We've had regular updates to these as required. I mean, if you recall, last time we had the floods and no one had anything in the terms of reference that accounted for that. It was yet another thing we weren't prepared for, but we did update them. So I'll take some questions about them, but I'll invite Andrew Pickering, oh there he is, Head of Governance Services, to address us on this. Then we'll take some questions, and I think Councillor Turner has announced that he's quite interested in having them. We have actually pointed out that we will adopt the terms of reference. The recommendation is subject to consideration of the meeting frequencies, which is another item that has apparently prompted some questions, and we'll deal with those in the next workshop, where we're discussing things like the rules of engagement and a few other bits and pieces. So, Andrew, you can address us on these, and then we'll go to questions. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, Your Worship and councillors, and welcome back to our returning councillors, and welcome aboard to the new councillors. My name's Andrew Pickering. I'm Head of Governance Services.
Can you get a bit closer to the microphone there? Don't be scared about it. Thank you.
Andrew Pickering, Head of Governance Services, and I've got Miranda Knox, Executive Officer. And this report recommends to the governing body that you adopt the terms of reference for committees. The terms of reference support the committee structure and the decisions you made in the earlier item regarding appointments to committees and joint committees and other positions. We've worked from the basis of last term, but incorporated changes, either those requested by chairs or those required to support the new committee structure. We've tried to keep the roles and responsibilities as clear as possible. Your feedback we received from committee chairs has been very, very helpful. Given that, the governing body, you as the governing body, are going to workshop and make decisions to confirm standing orders and the meeting frequencies. These terms of reference will be amended to give effect to those decisions as needed. So happy to answer any questions.
No, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Turner.
Mr. Mayor, the wording has sorted out all my concerns. Just we're going to look at scheduling again. So that's
Yeah, I think we will. There was a lot of pressure, and what with the flu and everything, something's got slightly ahead of themselves, and so we will have a debate about that. There is some, on the one hand, I've heard lots of people saying we have too many bloody meetings, and then other people have just told me they have too many meetings, want more meetings. So we will come to a compromise on that.
Mr. Mayor, you told me too many committees, so maybe we can come to a compromise, as you say. Thank you.
Oh, there's probably too many councillors, but I can't do much about that either. So one has to live with what one's got. Have we got any questions there, Andrew, after us? We've waited in expectation for 40 minutes of technological things. Surely there's a bloody question after all that, otherwise I'm going to move it anyhow. It's going to be seconded by the Deputy Mayor in this case. We don't always do that for the new people, but these are procedural type of things today. So you can retire. It sounds as though we'll get the hang of these as you go through them slowly but surely and read them up before we have the next workshop on these things if there's anything we want to amend. But it is something that we periodically amend because things pop up that we haven't thought about. And so we remain open-minded. You should be aware of that. All those in favour, please say aye. The contrary, carried. Thank you very much for that. That was a very long break there. We're going to move appointments to the co-government and co-management entities, of which we have a generous supply. Now, these sort of cover the notes are covered in the previous thing anyhow. Welcome Dom, who is involved in items like the Tipuna Manga Authority, which for those 5 of you who don't know about it will reveal its mysterious ways over the next wee while. So we are intending to appoint, as we've got in front of you, the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Bartley to Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Reserves Boards as the most local people there. And we're delegating the Ōrākei board to make one appointment to that. Councillor Sayers has shown a particular interest as being the only person who lives up at Kaipara and attending that one. And the Rodney Local Board will make 2 appointments. And we have 3 governing body people at this stage to Tipuna Manga Authority. Hey? So Dom, would you like to address us, please?
Kia ora tātou. So this paper before you is about, you can see about the appointments to the 3 statutory boards, they're co-governance boards, and they're all 3 independent statutory boards from Auckland Council, and they're all established by treaty settlements. And so as you've heard there from the Mayor, the 3 boards are the Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Reserves Board. There's 6 members there, and there's 3 each from Tangata Whenua, 3 from that's Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, and then 3 from the Council. And the Tupuna Maunga Authority is the second of these statutory boards. 12 members, 6 from Auckland Council and 6 from Ngā Mana Whenua o Tāmaki Makaurau. And then we have Te Poari o Kaipātiki ki Kaipara, and that also has 6 members, 3 appointed by Ngāti Whātua Kaipara, and then 3 appointed by this council. In the past, there's been a practice where this governing body has appointed some members and then delegated to the local boards to appoint some members, and you'll see that's recommended here in the paper. Essentially, following that past practice, and the reason really is that it's worked well, And it does reflect the overall structure, of course, of Auckland Council with the wards and the local boards. And just probably one more comment to make is I've emphasised that they are independent statutory boards, and so once you're appointed, there are the three settlement legislation pieces of legislation have different rules about your term of appointment, but essentially it doesn't necessarily map with your appointment as your electoral term. So that's all I need to say on that, I think. Kia ora tātou.
Councillor Andy Baker, and seconded by Philippina. Thank you very much, Councillor Philippina. Right, is there any questions of Don while he's here? Thank you, Councillor Hills.
Kia ora, Mayor, thank you. Just a quick question. A local board member has asked about appointment to Hauraki Golf. What is their, I know it's not a decision for us, but what is the process for local board members who might like to be appointed to some of these forums or committees?
Hauraki Golf's not in this lot.
Yes, certainly not my ambit, but I can follow that up for you, Councillor.
Anything else? In that case, you can retreat. Further discussion. All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. To the contrary, carried. Welcome to those things. We're going to 5.5, the recruitment process for the District Licensing Committee, and I think that Councillors Newman, myself and anyone else in the liquor industry who's not able to.
Your Worship, I'm struggling to hear you. I wonder if you could speak into your microphone.
I beg your pardon?
I'm struggling to hear you, and I was rather hoping you could speak into your microphone.
Like you, thank you, I will do. I apologise for that. I just got so excited by what we're doing. No, I wasn't. We're doing the District Licensing Committee. I think Councillors Winiata, Newman and myself have, and Councillor Henderson all have a vague interest in this, so we won't be voting on it. Nevertheless, Josephine's going to move this.
I can move it, yes, but can I just ask for a change, please, because
Yes.
Councillor Gillen is keen to do it and Councillor Baker is keen to be the backup, or Councillor Philippina, which either.
Yeah, well, I've actually got on my notes here says Bartley, Gillen, or Baker, or Philippina, so I'm not quite sure where we've got to there.
So we've got Gillen 1 and then Philippina 2.
Baker, are you happy with that?
Yeah, more than that.
So we're rightio. So can you get that right? So it's now actually Gillen and Philippina. Can you change that, please, Sandra, without an O? Okay. Julie, would you like to speak to us on this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, and councillors. I will take my report as read. I actually don't have anything to add. I'm very happy with those councillors, so unless you have any questions.
Moved Bartley, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I don't think it requires any great debate now that we've got that sorted. All those in favour, please say aye. To contrary. Thank you, you two, for picking up that one and running with it. Governing body meetings, well, that's running its first truck coming the other way. So I think what we're doing to there is we're not
going to need the 18th.
Beg your pardon?
We're not going to need the 18th of November, so we can take that one out. And we'll just have an ordinary on the 25th of November, and then the schedule is set out for the rest of the...
Okay. So we have a schedule that's out for up until the end of the year, but we're going to, on the 18th of November, there's a whole lot of tidying up meetings. Sorry, 25th of November. We're tidying up quite a lot of processes, including a debate. So those of you who got strong views on how many meetings we should have, let us know what they are. And we're trying to come up with a compromise which gives us enough meetings without being too many so that we can do the work that we have. I know we've had some very long meetings, but some of the very long meetings had nothing to do with how often they were. It was just that people wanted to have a very long meeting filibustering over various items with wheels under them, as I recall. So, moved and seconded. I'll move this, and the Deputy Prime Minister will second it. Yes. So all those in favour of having a meeting on the 25th to discuss a whole lot of things, please let me, and contact my office if you've got very strong views on these things, and I imagine you'll be at the head of the queue there, Councillor Turner. 5. Hey? All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, thank you. Carried. Well, we're roaring through here. Meeting schedule from over the Christmas break. That's in case somebody dies or falls ill. And try not to be that person.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to suggest, and I have said this through, and I know it may not be strictly necessary, but in line with what I mentioned in my speech earlier, I'd like a note in here that all urgent decisions made on behalf of the governing body or its committees under the delegation in A, including written advice which supports such decisions, be included on the agenda of the next ordinary meeting of the governing body. And I know that's probably general practice. However, I think it's important that we actually note that that will be happening to ensure that it does happen. And it's just
yeah, you're quite happy with that? Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think, I mean, you'll find that even if it says that, everyone will receive a note of something that's going wrong over those particular breaks. And I know one of the joys of being the mayor is they give you a satellite phone that you have to put on the boat and cart round and round and round. And it wasn't until after I got back that I discovered that it had no batteries in it, and no one ever told me how it worked. So that was great. All right. Moved and seconded. Thank you. Seconded by Baker. All those in favour, please say aye. Bingo. Righto. Try not to die over Christmas. Now what?
Process.
Summary of information memorandum.
Information only. Moving section.
Right. There's a massive amount that came in here, and due to my illness, I read the lot, and it's quite frightening, some of this. This is what's come in, and sometimes you'll find that they just give us a list of stuff, and in amongst it, there's some frightening stuff there. So whilst we're going to receive it, I actually want to mention about these. You'll note that we had received submissions on fisheries, central water wharves, natural risks, asset sales updates, Auckland plan monitoring, city rail and Greenland report, proposed fortnightly rubbish collection trial consultation, downtown bus improvements, CCO annual reports, regulatory hearings, Northwestern Busway update, Albert Street bus changes, and revocation of reserve in Pakuranga. Now that's just to inform you what's happened, but in some of those things there, they're quite frightening, so I'm going to talk about some of those. For instance, we have had on the central wharves, that's been fiddled with for years, and I'll read through this here. And it's largely Iki Panuku who no longer with us. And it doesn't tackle things like we have the cloud down on one of those wharves, which for those of you who are not aware of, it was built temporarily 15 years ago for 2 years. And it's still there. And I have yet to have a clear suggestion from many of our staff as to what we might do with it. So if any of you over the break are thinking that you've got some good idea about that, that'd be good to hear. Then, and a lot of the suggestions that they've done for the wharves, there's not many of them that actually that are economically viable. In fact, there's an awful lot of things there which are just going to add to rates without giving us anything back. So please think about those over the break. And then we had the asset sales update, which was a very depressing document. We have made very little asset sales. And in fact, we have failed to get anywhere near them on those figures. You'll see the reds and greens there. Quite depressing. And we will need those because the Chief Executive and the Chief Financial Officer will remind us already that we are struggling to make the $50 million savings that we want and require some of those. But the most alarming one, without a doubt, was one about the downtown bus improvements and transformation of the downtown precinct. And I've kept this carefully out in plastic so it doesn't pollute the rest of the notes in here. It says in here, because the previous council under Mayor Goff sold the downtown car park, and there's a question of removal of the Hobson Street flyover, and which I see is in there. But we have yet to see a rational plan for how the vehicles negotiate the area without the flyover. And so I want to see that. And so I'm asking at the next meeting that we have a very clear look at what's good and bad about the central city master plan, and we will have some time to have a look in reviewing all those things. And there are notes in here, some things which I find quite alarming, is that Council and Auckland Transport, who are on the way out, Auckland Transport, are bringing together a multidisciplinary team to do what exactly, and discuss that. And seeing as I have, earlier in last year, we sent a letter of expectation to Auckland Transport, amongst other things, was to improve east-west traffic flow through the city, which is basically Custom Street, Victoria Street and Wellesley Street, and AT have gone out of their way to make it impossible to get east-west through the city. It's the exact opposite. And so, having failed completely at Victoria and Wellesley Street, I don't want to do much. I then read on here that the program will transform Custom Street and Fanshawe Street into a transit corridor for prioritising public and active transport, which again is not in keeping with what we'd said. They are procuring a consultant team, which is really worrying because we've had meetings about what went on in Victoria Street, and a consultant team did dumb things without any idea that we wanted to improve east-west. And then it says here, under 31, the multidisciplinary design consortia is being appointed to progress design and consenting with work to commence before the end of 2025. Now, we haven't even had a discussion about this. And so I really, I'm going to ask that the CEO make sure that this is stopped dead in its tracks, because this is not what we had in mind. And so for those of you who've got through to the memorandum about that, read it with great alarm. That's not what we had in mind. That's the very reason why we're taking over all those things in AT that don't involve a bus or public transport. So in fact, I've spent some time with some of the senior people at AT recently, and it's been very depressing. On Waitemata Street, Wellesley Street, they are seriously intending that the traffic coming from the west would go down Wellesley Street and turn left into Elliott Street, which is a walking street. Whereas if it goes straight ahead, it goes up a hill and it's onto a motorway, which is what most people want to do. And so we've just got to stop dead. And I'm asking those questions about that. I was told that the buses are so important outside the coming railway station in Wellesley Street that there'll be so many buses you can't be able to get a car through there. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, these are the same people who didn't think it was important to have a bus stop outside the Mount Eden railway station. So we have issues to be dealt with here. And so while we're getting on with dealing with those, I'm going to ensure that the Chief Executive checks that they are not actually doing what it says in this memorandum, which in fact went to the Waitemata Local Board. And it's another thing is that the legislation is changing so that CBD comes here, not to the Waitemata Board, because it's not Queen Street and Wellesley Street and Victoria Street and Custom Street are not local roads. They're almost nationally significant roads, and they're certainly regionally significant roads. So I believe that this is the place where we will discuss whether those things work or not, rather than the Waitemata Board, which hasn't got the world's best success rate of making good decisions anyhow. So I just wanted you to know that's what happens if you lie in bed sick for a week and you read everything. It's quite surprising, and sometimes it doesn't make you feel better. And then lastly, I read through with great care the report from Iki Panuku. Iki Panuku, of course, is no longer, and we are going to be addressed at the next Prop Full meeting by the Chief Executive on the status of where we've got to with our CCO reforms. And that hasn't been a perfect process, but I want to know so that you all understand where we've got to and where we're going to. But if you look under there, you'll find on page 399 of 641, Iki Panuku, who are we and what we do. And in fact, it's a very good statement of what they should have done, but didn't, and which is why they are no more. And so, over the break, don't just ignore these. And if you get further into the non-performance financial, because for those of you who suggested, and one or two candidates from Mirror suggested that we needed more openness and whatnot, everything you could need to know is written up here somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it and reading it. Statement of service performance. And this is quite honest. It shows what we've achieved and what we haven't achieved. And we have achieved a number of excellent things. There's no question about that. But the achievement of board-approved transformation and unlock sales for the financial year, we had a target of 16 and we achieved 1.32, which is definitely a D minus, and asset recycling target of 60 and we achieved 8.8. Now, admittedly, the market has been difficult, but the market was difficult when we just said we'd get 16 and 60. So these are areas. On the other hand, I'll read through further, and the percentage of marina customers who are satisfied with the marina is very high at 94%. And I was one of those people, and despite the fact it's gougingly expensive, we all said it was pretty good. So people will pay for something that's good. There's no question about that. So I'm sorry to make a bit of a time making a speech, but that's the net result of me getting flu, so don't give me flu again and I won't read all this stuff so closely. But there you are. Anyone would like to comment on those things? Because that's what's in front of us. That's what you had before you, but I do want you to think about those things. You get into the habit of reading these reports, you never know what you're going to find. I'll take any further questions or comments. I've numbed you up. Very good indeed. Well, in that case, Councillor Williamson, please.
Mr Mayor, you're always at an enormous advantage to us because you have a hard copy of big documents, and they're a lot easier to read if you're lying back on a couch or sitting on the bed feeling crook and reading it.
but so many of the documents that are put out to us around this place, we're not allowed to print them off. We're not allowed to have a hard copy of. And somehow officials are, and you are, but we've got to sit with a computer screen, and it's bloody hard to read a massive document sitting on a computer screen. And I'm really keen to know, who is it that's made the decision that elected councillors sitting around this table can't have a hard copy of documents?
It wasn't me.
No, I know it wasn't you.
But it's just that these seem to be presented because we, as the
No, you
chair,
can't.
we go through an iteration of going through this before it gets anywhere, so. Push button.
I have been through this over and over and been told, no, you can't have a copy, you can't have a hard copy of that. No, it's not. It's others as well.
If I may, councillors, the new system allows you to print. Sorry. The new system allows you to print. You've got a print function on your agenda, and you can print your documents.
Every document?
Every document.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's going to only be from here on, because it hasn't been in the past.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
From here on. Yeah.
All right.
That functionality.
Good question, good answer. And but if you are going to print them, read them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That in itself is punishment.
All the memos got emailed in PDF form too, so you can print those. But just remember, staff are required not to print stuff because of this council asking for no spending on discretionary items. So we can print if we want, but if we all print thousands of pages every single meeting, that's a huge cost on council. So.
Yeah, but if I'm sick in bed for 9 days, I want to have a big chunk of bloody reading material.
Well, we'll make it sure it's compulsory that you're sick for 9 days.
Well, we've already achieved that. You've already had what you wish for.
In order to... All right. Well, I think we will put the motion that we receive these, but thank you for endowing me with it, allowing me to comment on all this lot, and I urge you to have a quiet look at some of that stuff there. No, you don't have to look at all of it, but there's bits and pieces we pick through. You'll find that some bits are worth printing and some bits are worth ignoring, but it's all there. And I notice we have the proposed fortnightly rubbish collection trial in there, which I know is quite controversial amongst some of you, and we will be having a discussion about that in the next coming meetings. And that is another important thing as well. So all those in favour of receiving... Oh, Councillor Fletcher?
Coming to the flyover matter, because you may recall I came to see you about that 3 months ago, where will the accountability for that now sit under the governance delegations that you have created?
Flyover at the bottom of Hobson Street.
Yes, the one I came to see you about.
Yes. Well, we just happen to have a few flyover issues going on at the moment. And there's a kerfuffle out in Howick over a flyover as well.
No, just in terms of accountability, I'm just wanting to understand where that is going to sit going forward.
That'll go to the Transport Committee, and because the important thing is that we understand what the transport implications of it, rather than just selling it to make precinct properties building nicer. And we never got a clear answer to that, because I remember when I first looked into it, you ended up going in a Yui somewhere or other, which is not good. So we haven't, that's unresolved. It's on the list of things for Andy Baker's committee to unravel. And there's a fair bit of pressure on that at the moment, because they're actually due to pay for this shortly. And that whole decision that was made under the GOF regime wasn't entirely 100% perfect. So I think you'll just have to wait and find out. Andy, you're under instructions to push that along and find out what is happening with the traffic in the absence of that flyover. Is that right? Thank you for raising that, councillor. All right. All those in favour of receiving that block of information, please say aye. Contrary? Okay, carried. Where are we getting to next? Item 7.1, I believe. 5.10. Some of the confidential decisions. Ah, yes, of course. Confidential, the secret things that happened out in the bush.
This is just a noting.
Right, this is just a noting paper. It's moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Bo Burns. I'm sure you're interested and excited about this, Bo Burns, but there you are. You've hit the ranks. We note that we had received a whole lot of stuff about this there that resulted in a dawn parade out there, and it was attended by Councillor Turner and others. I think it's okay. Okay. No further discussion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, carried. Item 7.1. Oops, we've got to go. You'll get used to this. We're going to move to go into exclusion of the public. We do this for reasons which are quite beyond me. Yeah, Newman and Gillen, all those in favour? No?
I'd like to speak to it, please.
You what?
I'd like to speak to this procedural motion, please.
Well, okay, well, it's been moved and seconded, so you can speak to it, please.
Thank you. I won't be supporting this because only one of the attachments to the item is actually confidential and names the person in question. The rest of the material should be out in public. So I don't support the way that this has been handled.
Well, good on you. I must admit I'm building a consensus of people who don't like going into secrecy. Me neither. But for some reason or other, staff have indicated this should be secret. Beats me because, in fact, what we are doing here, and I can't mention that person yet because it's secret, is that we are finding the chief judge to head the very tricky panel for one of the two biggest things really we've got next 3 years. Is one is making sure that when we get AT back we don't make a mess of it, and B is that we do the PC 120 and intensify the city from being a big suburb and don't make a mess of that. And the chairperson of the committee of planning advisors is a very powerful position, and we've had offered up to us. Finally, it has to be approved by myself and the Minister of Planning, Minister of something or other in here, and the first name that came up was, I can't tell you who it was.
We don't need to go
I'm just going to say that we have had rejections. So we are going through a process to get somebody who everyone thinks is nice and good and lovely. So anyhow, those in favour of going into secrecy, please say aye. The contrary?
No, I called for a division. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Hey?
I called for a division earlier, Mr Mayor.
You want a division on this? Okay. This will be a good chance to find out whether our electronic system works. So this is will be known as the Gillen Initiative. Councillor Burns.
Sorry, Mayor Brown, is the confidentiality to protect the person coming forward for the role because it's so controversial? Because that would change my mind because if it's protect that person, then I'd be more than happy for it to be confidential.
My belief, which could well be wrong, is that it's protecting that person until the other party involved in this, being the government,
Point of order.
has joined it. Point of order?
Yeah, I mean, this is a debate that's going on, but I understand that the vote has been put and the division's been called. So I think that the vote should just be had now. some of us don't have resolved, so I'm assuming that our names will be called out so we can just register.
We're going to do the division now.
We're going to do the division now, and we'll explain that to you later, okay?
Councillors, we're going to have to go old school on this, so I will call your name, and if you just call out what your vote is, then we will record it for you. Sorry, I was in anticipation of having this all on resolve for the first time, but forces were
The Gillen initiative has failed. We're going to have to go back to old school.
Not yet.
Okay, Mayor Brown.
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Simpson. Councillor Baker.
For.
Councillor Bartley.
For.
Councillor Burns.
For.
Councillor Ferry.
For.
Councillor Filipina.
Aye.
Councillor Fletcher.
No.
Councillor Foley.
No.
Councillor Gillen. Councillor Henderson.
Yes.
Councillor Hills.
Of course. Kia ora.
Councillor Lee.
I'm with you.
Councillor Newman.
For.
Councillor Patterson-Hamlin.
For.
Councillor Sayers.
For.
Councillor Short.
For.
Councillor Turner.
Against.
Councillor Watson.
No.
Councillor Williamson. No. Councillor Williata.
For.
So that's carried 15 votes to 6.
Righto. Thank you, attending those members of the public who have soldiered on through such excitement. We'll give you 5 minutes for you to vacate the room, and you'll miss out on this incredibly exciting secret thing.